Just tell me this. In your opinion, is this a scam?
See, Abhishek, something is wrong, right? We call it a scam or what we should call it. It's a totally different thing, but it's not a usual thing. It looks like something is seriously wrong.
What are those top 5 things for that matter? Those wrong things that you were referring to?
First thing which I noticed or which everybody noticed, that this time cutoffs are very high.
Is the role that coaching centers, the coaching mafia, etc., ends up playing.
That can be a possibility.
National eligibility come entrance test for admission to medical colleges. The entrance test, which would have determined the future of 24 lakh students, has come under serious scrutiny amid allegations of paper leak and grace marks and peculiar instances, including 67 students getting the All India Rank 1. While the education minister in the Modi government has denied claims of paper leak and promised corrective measures wherever errors might have occurred, opposition netas are up in arms, while future doctors, along with their parents, are on the streets protesting. Petitions on irregularities are being heard by the Supreme Court. But what's the way out? What are the students demanding? To find the answers to more such questions, I'm joined by Mr. Anil Nagar, founder and group CEO of Adda 24/7. It is one of India's largest vernacular learning platform. It provides online courses in more than 12 Indian languages for government entrance exams. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Nagar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thanks for having me here.
First things first, before anything at all, just tell me this. In your opinion, is this a scam? If yes, how?
See, Abhishek, something is wrong, right? We call it a scam or what we should call it. It's a totally different thing, but it's not a usual thing. There are so many anomalies, and over the last 15 days, the way things have unfolded, it looks like something is seriously wrong with the whole process. So we have to look into nuances. There are so many nuances to it, but certainly there is something wrong.
What are those top 5 things for that matter? Those wrong things that you were referring to?
First thing which I noticed or which everybody noticed as the result came out, that this time cutoffs are very high. So normally if I am having, let's say, any student is having 700 marks, earlier you will be in, let's say, top 2000 3000 students.
Because the result this time was announced before it was expected to be announced. Would you say even that is unusual?
We started questioning that only after we realized that marks have been inflated. And then the question
Right.
started, because normally our students, they were hoping that, let's say they are getting some 630 marks or 640 marks. They were hoping that they will get some medical college. But as soon as the results came and people realized that if you have less than 650, there's hardly any scope of getting a medical college or government medical college in India. And then people are starting questioning this thought. Post that, NTA came up with the list of top 100 students in the result. And then the biggest doubt came that something is really wrong, because in that result we could see 67 students got 720 out of 720. That's one. Secondly, somebody got 718 marks, somebody got 719 marks, which practically is not possible because there are 180 questions. One question will carry 4 marks and there is a negative marking of -1. So practically 716 is possible, 715 is possible, 718 and 19 are not possible.
A mathematical impossibility. And that has happened. So what explains that? Is there an explanation that NTA has provided?
And NTA came up with the explanation that this time there was a time loss for some students and during the conduct of the exam, and they went to various courts, high court or some other courts. They reached out to these courts, and then NTA validated that there was a time loss or not. They kind of found that there was a time loss, and hence they gave grace marks to some students. Now this is the first thing which came out as a big surprise to all aspirants, because this has never happened in Neet. Never ever earlier they have given any grace marks to any student. So that was a surprise, and that again they told this. They came up with the explanation when students are asked what is the explanation of 718 and 719 marks. Now I will go a little bit into the background because now this whole thing becomes questionable. This exam happened on 5th of May. right? Exactly, exam happened on 5th of May. On 6th of May, NTA came up with a notice on their website that exam has been conducted peacefully across India, except one center, Savai Madhopur Center.
Right.
They specifically mentioned that except this center, on all other centers, exam started on time and it ended exactly on the on time. On the top of it, NTA also mentions in its brochure that
But if that was the case, then why were grace marks given to students from other centers?
exactly. So that's the point. When you yourself has said that exam was conducted, started on time, it ended on time. You yourself have confirmed, and that too on the very next day after the exam. Then suddenly in the result, how come you have given grace marks? There's one more background to it. NTA clearly mentions in its brochure that we monitor NEET exam through live CCTV cameras during the course of the exam. They
Right.
conducted this exam at about 5,000 centers, 4,750 centers across India, and they have mentioned that we monitor this exam through live CCTV cameras, which means when they said that there have been exam has been conducted peacefully, we believe that they have seen it through CCTV cameras. We really believe it. Now,
Yeah.
suddenly, when they say that there is grace mark, there has been time lost, then there is a question mark. And now, within
Yeah.
that, there is a big question mark because they say that we have given grace marks to students who approached high courts and we kind of validated that. What about those people who did not approach the courts? So, that
I mean,
also
that in
becomes
itself is a huge problem, right? Because, I mean, 24 lakh students appeared. Uh, to what extent? I mean, a student first has to appear for an exam, which is one of the most difficult entrance exams in the country, that everything else has been done by the book. He has to go to the court now.
right. So they and they came up with a list of with not with the list but with the number that we have given grace marks to 1,563 students, and these are the
Right.
students who have opposed the code. Now, students are saying a lot of students have come up that there was a time loss of mind center also. What about that? And the problem is that NEET exam is being conducted currently. It's being conducted offline. In offline, it becomes completely subjective until unless there is a data because they have taken a reference of CLET exam of 2018 where similar things happened. There was a time loss, and on the basis of there was some judgment from Supreme Court that there have been time loss, and they gave some grace marks to students. But the difference
Right.
is that CLAT exam was an online exam where you could
Right.
clearly quantify how much is the time loss for how many students, and you could give the marks. Here it's an offline exam. Here it's an offline
Also,
exam.
correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Grace marks have never been given by NTA before. This is the first time.
Right, right. This was the first time. So ideally, to be fair to everyone, they could have informed this when they declared the result on their own. They could have even given out a list of students who got the grace marks. Maybe they could have opened a window for all the students, not just those students who went to courts, but to all the students who feel that there have been time loss, and then NTA could have validated and given the grace marks. So the whole thing, the way have handled, it looks like there is big problem there.
Right. So this is one set of irregularities. And of course, Supreme Court yesterday came down heavily. It slammed the NTA and said if there is even 0.001% chance of any kind of irregularity, then this should be addressed, right? But that aside, the other set of irregularity that people are talking about is the scam part of it. To what extent do you think this is a scam?
So there are two kind of cases. One case is where the extent of the decrease is limited and government or the body says that this was limited and this was contained. We could identify those people who did it, and now those have been separated. That may be one case, but otherwise there are some cases where it's not identifiable that how much is the depth of the leakage, how many students got it. In that case, mostly papers have been cancelled also in past. For example, I personally, when I gave IIT in 1997, so I was giving IIT JEE
Yeah.
exam and the exam got leaked. On the very same day in the evening, we could hear that exam got leaked, and by the evening, exam got cancelled. CBI inquiry was set up, and re-exam date was announced within a day or two. Now that is a case where we could not establish or the body could not establish what is the depth of the paper leakage. But in country like India, what I understand is that here and there few cases come up, but they are taken care by our agencies, and they are handled properly.
But are they really handled? Because I mean, this is not the first time that we are hearing about such allegations. As you were mentioning yourself, I mean, you did make it to IIT BHU eventually, despite what happened during your days when you appeared for the entrance exam. But in cases of other entrance exams as well, allegations of paper leak have occurred again and again. So have authorities really not been able to tackle it? And if not, clearly not, then why? Why is it such a huge problem?
See, it's a huge problem. I can say that it's a very big problem. If you look at the number of cases in last 5 years, I was reading somewhere in some Indian Express news or somewhere that millions of our students have been impacted. I
Yeah.
think around 50 exams have been leaked in last 5 years, and impacting crores of students. So this is a big problem. I think there is a requirement to overhaul the whole system, to look into the root cause of this and how we avoid that in future, because it breaks the trust of students in our system.
Right. And now students in their thousands in Hyderabad, Delhi, Bihar, in other places were protesting, are protesting. Political parties have also sort of, jumped in. Aam Aadmi Party organized a protest at Jantar Mantar yesterday. Congress leaders like Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi, Mr. Kharge, others have been talking about it as well. So where do you think this is all going to go? Because the next hearing has been announced on July 8th by the Supreme Court. And now where do you think, from the point of view of students, how should this be handled by the government?
Yes. So I think now the issue has become a bit complicated, because in last hearing, when this came up in a hearing on in Supreme Court, Supreme Court was of the view that we should not hold counseling part as of now, and we should continue the
Yeah.
counseling, and maybe we can have retest of these 1563 students who got grace marks. In fact, that was proposed by NT only. So now this has become complicated, because now NTA is going to conduct a retest or re-NEET for these 1563 students on 23rd June, and there is going to be
Yeah.
re-announcement of the result on 30th June. Post that, counseling is going to start on 8th July, sorry,
Right.
4th July. And now this hearing will come up on 8th July. Now, by the time this hearing
8th
is
July.
going to come up, by that time, these students who, or all the students who will go through counseling, they will be allotted college, some or other medical college. Probably they will take admissions, they will take some loan, they will get into the whole process of taking admission and all. So things are now very complicated. I feel there should be some intervention here. Maybe government should postpone this re-NEET for the 1563 students to after 8th July, or maybe we should put counseling on hold for the time being. But something has to be done here right now, because otherwise, in absence of any such measure, counseling is going to happen, college is going to be allotted, and then of course SC can reverse, Supreme Court can reverse the whole this. In fact, Supreme Court has mentioned that we can give provisional admission to students, but it's very tricky. It looks a bit impractical to me. So something has to be done there. Uh, I think one of the probable solution is that we can postpone this re-NEET and re-declaration of result and counseling to post 8th July, when there is a clarity that what's going to be the path.
I was just asking, you must be talking directly to a lot of students ever since this fiasco first broke out. So, what are they saying to you?
They are really worried. They are really worried. So people have prepared for this exam for many years. Some of them started in class 9, some started class 10, some in 11, some in 12. So this is their hard work of multiple years, and now there is concern on both the sides. First, so those people who have scored good, now they are worried that this time their score is good and they are about to get a medical college. What if re-exam happens and they are not able to score that much? They are really worried on that. Secondly, of course, those students who got decent marks, but because the cutoff has been really high, they really want somebody to look into it. Per se, people are not very student on the student side. I'm saying people are not very towards re-need side. People are more
Okay.
towards that we should examine what has happened wrong, what is wrong with the database, where has been marks inflation. So all those things had to be really looked into.
So you're saying, based on your conversations with a lot of students, that a majority of them don't want a re-exam.
Yeah, and especially those who have done well in this exam.
Right. I mean, that definitely makes sense. But of course, there are a whole lot of students who are asking for a re exam. So we will see what eventually happens because, of course, the Supreme Court will be hearing the petitions again on July 8th. That's when the next hearing has been scheduled for. But before I let you go, one thing which I wanted to ask you, because you've been a part of the system, I mean, you've seen it from inside out. You've been a student yourself, have appeared for such an entrance exam. Of course, we're talking about IIT-JEE, and then you've been involved in teaching students. You founded Adda 24/7. One thing which often gets talked about in such cases of paper leaks, etc., is the role that coaching centers, the coaching mafia, etc., ends up playing. In your opinion, what kind of role that they play, and how can that be sort of, could that also be a possibility in this situation?
That can be a possibility. In my mind, I'm open to all kind of possibilities. Anything because see, if you look at the especially paper leak part, one
Yeah.
single individual cannot afford to make a paper leak. They don't have resources. They don't have that much money. It doesn't make
Yeah.
sense for a student to make the paper leak, right?
Yeah, because there has to be somebody who's ready to incentivize somebody who's on the inside to leak the paper in the first place. And the kind of money which perhaps it would take to incentivize somebody who's in that kind of a position has to be a huge amount of money. And, one set of people who have a vested interest in all of this are definitely, the coaching centers, etc.
Right, right. And I think now this is one part of it. Like the problem has happened, and we are talking about it. We should also talk about it, how to fix the problem, because now there has been paper leak. Now there is grace marks, all those things. We have to think of the solutions, and I believe there are two, three clear solutions we should think about it. For example, next time, now a lot of students who are preparing for Neet 2025, they are asking us, they are concerned that okay, whatever happens this year, what about us next year? Will be taken care of? Will things be fine? Will things be smooth? So I suggest two three things which I have suggested on multiple platforms. First, we should seriously think to make this exam online, because once exam is online, cases of paper leakage or let's say quantification of time loss, lot of things are taken care, because I heard on some center the different language papers were distributed. I saw it on news that English medium students were given Hindi paper, Hindi medium are given English. So a lot of things are taken care when the exam is online. Probably second thought is we should conduct exam in two phases, prelims and mains. Within that also a lot of filtering happens, because if there is has to be paper leak, it has to happen at two levels. Third, we should conduct exam twice a year at least.
Right.
For example, this time students are too worried that what will happen to their future. And for example, they are not able to clear the cutoff. But if we have exam after another 6 months, they will be more hopeful. They will be positive. So I think we need serious reforms in the whole ecosystem,
And
and we need
perhaps
to do
also
this.
increase the number of seats.
Definitely. That's a given thing. Number of
Yeah.
seats are very few in India, and we should increase them.
All right. I mean, this issue is not going to die down anytime soon. The re-exam is, of course, scheduled on 23rd of June. Then there's the result a week after that. Then almost a week after that is the Supreme Court hearing. So we'll keep coming back to you. Thank you so much for joining us and talking to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Abhishek.